We've got a lot of updates for you on this week's episode of the Adiation Central Weekly Show, and it all starts right now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Adiation Central Weekly Show. I'm Andrew, I'm here with my co-host David. Say hi.
Hello.
For everyone who's listening for the first time, welcome to the show. If it isn't, welcome back. We'll be covering some exciting topics this week, including the B-21 rollout of the U.S. Air Force and Northrop Grumman.
That's right, the B-21 is the first new bomber developed by the United States Air Force in over 25 years. I think it's actually closer to 30 years now, though. However, it's designed to be virtually invisible to radar with a range of over 6,000 miles, reportedly, with the ability to carry both nuclear and conventional weapons. It is the successor to the B-2 stealth bomber, which was first introduced in the 1990s, and the B-21 incorporates many of the same stealth technologies as the B-2, but also a lot of new features of improved capabilities, such as the ability to carry wider range of weapons and a longer range of weapons as well. The B-21 is rolled out back on December 2nd at the Air Force's Plant 42 Test Center in Palmdale, California. The rollout marked an important milestone in the development of the new bomber, and it signaled the Air Force is on track to meet its initial goal of having B-21s operational by the late 2020s. The rollout ceremony was attended by top Air Force and defense officials, including the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin III, who emphasized the importance of the B-21 to the Air Force's future capabilities and its ability to defend the United States.
Yeah, the B-21 is designed to be a stealthy and highly capable bomber that can carry out a wide range of missiles. It is equipped with advanced radar evading technologies such as radar absorbing materials and low observable design features. This makes it very difficult for the enemy air defenses to detect and track the B-21, allowing it to penetrate enemy aerospace and carry out its missions undetected. In addition to its stealth capabilities, the B-21 is also designed to be highly flexible and adaptable. It can carry a variety of weapons, including both nuclear and conventional bombs, missiles, and precision-guided munitions. This allows it to be used in a wide range of scenarios, from long-range strategic strikes to close air support for ground troops.
The rollout of the B-21 marks an important milestone in its development, but there's still a long road ahead before the bomber is ready for operational use. The Air Force plans to conduct a series of flight tests and evaluations over the next few years in order to ensure that the B-21 is ready for combat. This is standard procedure for any new aircraft that the Air Force develops. Got to make sure that it's all good to go first. But once the B-21 is operational, it will become a key part of the Air Force's arsenal and will be used to carry out a wide range of missions, including strategic bombing, close air support, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The B-21 is a critical asset for the Air Force as it continues to defend the United States and its interests around the world. Andrew, what do you have to say about that?
I think it's a pretty cool plane. I think hopefully it's better than the B-2.
I think it's going to be kind of cool because in a lot of ways, it looks like a B-2, but from some of the pictures that we saw at the unveiling, it wasn't the same darker color as the B-2. There were some pretty key differences to it, I think, but there are a lot of it looked very similar to a B-2 as far as for, some of its design. Just overall, it is a little bit smaller than the B-2 as well, so that's important to keep in mind. It's also going to have reportedly a smaller payload capacity than a B-2, but the Air Force is investing, or at least hoping to have, at least 100 of these new bombers compared to the original 21 B-2s that were ordered and the 20 B-2s that are currently in service. It's also going to go ahead and replace the B-1 Lancer as well, so it's going to replace both of those fleets. And the new Air Force Strategic Bomber Fleet is going to now include, in the future, so by the time that the 2030s are coming around and these other aircraft, the B-1 and the B-2, are retired, then the Air Force Strategic Bomber arsenal is going to include the B-52 bomber still, but also the B-21. So it's exciting to see what happens on that front for the Air Force.
Well, this is certainly a huge step in stealth and technology for the United States Air Force. But let's discuss what's coming to the aviation consumer in the next few years as well. Let's talk about the new Boeing 797 series aircraft, which passengers may be flying on in 2025. The Boeing 797 is still in the early stages of development, but has already generated a lot of buzz in the aviation industry. The plane is designed to become more efficient and cost-effective options for airlines, with advanced engines and lighter frame. The 797 is intended to fill a gap between narrow-body and wide-body planes, with a seating capacity of around 290 passengers and a range of over 5,000 miles. This makes it a good option for airlines looking to replace their aging fleets of mid-sized planes.
The 797 is designed to be a versatile and efficient airplane that can meet the needs of a wide range of airlines. It will feature advanced engines that are more fuel efficient than those currently being used on other mid-sized planes, but this will also help reduce operating costs and make the 797 more attractive to airlines. In addition, the 797 will feature a lighter frame, which will help reduce its weight and improve performance. The lighter frame will make it so the 797 is more agile and responsive, allowing it to operate in a wider range of conditions and environments.
The 797 is still in early stages of development and is not clear yet when it will be ready for production. However, the plane has generated a lot of interest from airlines, and it could become a more popular choice for those looking to replace their aging fleets. If the 797 is successful, it could become a major game changer for the aviation industry. It could provide airlines with more efficient and cost-effective option for mid-sized planes, and it could open up new possibilities for air travel. The 797 will face stiff competition from other airplane manufacturers, particularly Airbus. Airbus is already well established in the mid-size airplane market with its highly successful A321 plane. The 797 will need to offer significant advantages over the A321 in order to compete. In addition, other companies are also developing mid-sized planes that could potentially compete with the 797. For example, Embraer is developing the E195-E2, which is designed to be more efficient and cost-effective options for airlines. The 797 will need to stand out from competition in order to be successful. So what do you think about this, David?
Well, I think the 797, we still have a couple years to go, but it's also, let's go ahead and take a broader look at the timeline, right? So the Boeing 737, the MAX 8, and soon to be the MAX 10 as well, that's still going to go ahead and take care of those like smaller, we need a jet kind of thing, like a lot of those like Southwest or more like those Southwest flights here in the States, or maybe like some of Ryanair or something like that. But they tend to stick more with Airbus on that side. So that's that side of that, right? But another thing to look at as well is Boeing recently ended the production of the 747, right? They had their last 747. It is now been produced and it is off, right? That program is now over for Boeing. So with the end of the 747, this is a great new investment for Boeing because this can provide, like we said, it's going to be more cost efficient. It's going to have better engines. It's going to be a lighter airframe as well. So this is going to be something that, maybe companies don't necessarily want to go all the way to a 787 Dreamliner type action, but it still has a range of 6,000 miles. So you can definitely see transatlantic flights on here. So this is still going to be a very intriguing aircraft to some of those other airlines that are going to have some of those longer flights, but not quite the same way that we might see like an A380 or a Dreamliner take place. So this is going to be a great new aircraft for Boeing to get involved here and to really start competing with the A321 in a new way. In other news, though, airlines are advocating for a change in regulation now to allow just one pilot in the cockpit for future flights. But first, we hope you're enjoying today's episode. If you are, please consider subscribing to our show, leave a 5-star review, and a comment. Adiation Central is a bigger community than just this podcast, and we also maintain a YouTube channel and Instagram page, a Facebook page as well, all that sort of good stuff. If this sounds interesting to you, you can find more about us and our mission here at adiationcentral.com and discover more awesome content there throughout the week from us. Thanks for listening to the show so far, though. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Currently, federal regulations require that all commercial flights have 2 pilots in the cockpit at all times. This has been the standard for many years and is seen as a critical safety measure. However, Some airlines are now pushing for a change to these regulations, arguing that advances in technology and automation have made it possible for one pilot to safely operate a plane. These airlines are lobbying the FAA to allow for one pilot operations on certain flights.
There are strong arguments on both sides of the debate over the one pilot operations. Proponents of the change argue that that the advances in technology and automation have made it possible for one pilot to safely operate a plane. They also point out that one pilot operations could save airlines a lot of money and that they would not have to pay for that second pilot. Opponents of the change, though, argue that two pilots are necessary more so for safety reasons. They point out that having two pilots in the cockpit allows for additional checks and balances, and it can provide a second set of eyes and ears to monitor the situation. They also argue that having two pilots can provide additional support in the event of an emergency.
The FAA has not yet taken a formal position on the issue of one pilot operations yet. However, the agency has indicated that it is open to considering the idea if airlines can provide evidence that one pilot operations would be safe. The FAA has also said that any change to the current regulation would need to be carefully evaluated and would likely involve a lengthy process of testing and evaluation. It is not yet clear when or if the FAA will make a decision on the issue.
The debate over the one pilot operations is likely to continue for some time. The FAA has indicated that it's open to considering the idea, but we'll need to see some convincing evidence to make sure that it's safe to not only the airlines and the aircraft, but also the passengers who are paying for that flight. In the meantime, though, airlines are pushing that the change they will continue to lobby the FAA to make change and to make their case on why one pilot operations should be allowed. It remains a debate and ultimately will play out in the future, probably not immediately, since this is going to have to be taken under some review and it's going to take time. But it is clear that this issue is not going to go away anytime soon. Andrew, what do you think?
I think they should most likely keep two pilots until maybe like 5 to 10 years until technology really gets advanced.
I mean, yeah, because it's not going to happen right away, but it's also important to look at some of the other factors as well. More and more aircraft, especially as you're starting to look at some of the new aircraft that are coming on the move now, coming on the rise, they have a lot more, like autopilot is getting smarter and smarter. Some of these checklist items are getting, with ForeFlight and some of that, right? With some of those other tools that are available as well, especially with Autoland as well. So that's something that's might be a huge safety concern that is able to at least get an aircraft on the ground in an event of an emergency. It's also important to look at, though, from the safety perspective as well. Having that second pilot, I know, as a student pilot previously, before getting my pilot's license, that was definitely something that I appreciated having, was at least that second set of ears, eyes and ears, right? That's really what is important, especially if you have a pilot that's maybe not in the best state of mind, and having that extra set of redundancy, whether it be, you're tired or other factors that are happening, it's always good to have that second person who can go in and help out as well. And you look at the situation, the miracle on the Hudson with Sully Sullenberger, right? You have that second pilot there, and if you have an emergency situation like that, it is critical that you have a second person there, but that's also a very rare opportunity. And on the grand scale of things, as far as for what a pilot can now handle, given the extra technologies that are available now on aircraft, there's a good argument for and against, and we'll just have to continue to see how this plays out in the future.
Yeah, well, we're excited to see how this partnership expands into 2023. With that, though, we now head to this week's Aircraft of the Week and trivia question. The Boeing 747, affectionately known as the Queen of the Sky, is this week's Aircraft of the Week. This iconic aircraft has been mainstay of commercial aviation since it was first introduced in 1969. It's easily recognizable by its distinctive hump-shaped upper deck and four engines mounted on the wings. The 747 was developed by Boeing in response to growing demand for air travel in the 1960s. It was the first wide-body airliner offering airlines the ability to transport large numbers of passengers over long distances. The 747's unique design allows it to carry more passengers than any other aircraft in the time, making it a game changer for the industry. In addition to its role as a passenger airline, the 747 has also been used for a variety of other purposes, including cargo transport and presidential transport. It has even been converted into an airborne observatory and flying hospital. The 747 has undergone several updates and upgrades over the years. The latest version, the 747A, just recently ended production, marking an end to the 747 program. Despite the rise of newer, more efficient aircraft, though, the 747 remains a beloved and enduring symbol of commercial aviation.
What an aircraft, though, and the 747 really will go down in history as just an amazing aircraft and what it was able to do at the time, really connecting the world in ways that we hadn't seen previously, especially on the scale that it was able to provide.
Yeah, well, you know what time it is now, don't you? It's my favorite part of the week.
It
Trivia
is.
question. So we invite our listeners at home to take a guess as well, and let us know in the comments if you get this right. But enough procrastinating. This week's question is, who is the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean?
Oh, Andrew. Oh, man. Well, I mean, this one isn't particularly bad. It's Amelia Earhart. She was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean and was truly a pioneer, not just for women, but just an overall pioneer as well within the aviation community, especially in the early days of aviation where there's a lot more risk with those associated flights.
That's it. Yay. So if you guys didn't get that, that's fine. It's a pretty tricky question, but there's always next week. We're so glad you joined us this morning. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and for more aviation content from us throughout the week, please visit us at aviationcentral.com. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Aviation Central Weekly Show, and safe flying.